World of Warcraft, Dragonflight is dizzying in every sense of the word. The beautiful landscapes and monumental sense of scale in the world building make for an impressive entry into the long-running MMORPG. But it's the movement and flight that really bring a chaotic sense of freedom to the game. While what is ultimately present in Dragonflight amounts to some solid improvements that remain tied to the gradually aging systems within World of Warcraft, that doesn't mean the journey to the Dragon Isles is any less intriguing. After a significant amount of time has elapsed between Shadowlands and Dragonflight, players are thrust into the new expansion during an uneasy period of peace between the Alliance and the Horde. Narratively, it was about time, and fighting and pragmatic alliances during end-of-the-world threats made continuing this particular feud silly, and it opens the door for much more nuanced storytelling in the future. Right now, and rightly so, much of Dragonflight's story features a fairly straightforward villain and focuses on the Dragonkin. The Dragon Isles are said to be already fighting for some of the best areas in World of Warcraft history, and recent memory doesn't cloud that sentiment any further. To be perfectly clear, Shadowlands was sucked in, on purpose for aesthetic reasons. The grayness that colored many of its worlds was necessary to convey the desolate landscape, but did little to make the areas memorable or entertaining. This problem doesn't exist in Dragonflight, which features a beautiful set of biomes that seem straight out of the fantasy world. There is a sense of freedom dutifully conveyed in exploring these areas that seem untouched and full of discovery. It's a nice, simple touch for an expansion that follows World of Warcraft's best attempt at Dante's Inferno, and it's exciting. Of course, the world of Dragonflight is further enhanced by new travel mechanics. Dragon riding is the movement system that World of Warcraft dreamed of when it first introduced flying mounts, and instantly rewards players with a style of travel that will waste hours of game time as they tinker with twists and turns on the Dragon Islands. It's a relatively simple addition to the grand scheme of all of World of Warcraft's many systems, but it feels incredibly powerful. The new Dractor race and its Evoker class is also a welcome addition to WoW, Dragonflight. Evokers do what their name suggests, evoking some of the more interesting elements of WoW's previously legendary dragon bosses, while retaining their own sense of identity. Abilities like Deep Breath are clear nods to past raid bosses, while the rest of the abilities draw on the thematic concerns of each Dragonflight in World of Warcraft history. Evokers are most interesting in that, in implementation, they feel like a very different class to all the others. They play a bit more like an action RPG character than the usual rotations of established classes. Charging attacks, finding the right timing, being hypermobile, it all feels a lot more modern than, say, current iterations of a warrior or rogue. The talent tree and profession system overhauls are also a welcome part of WoW, Dragonflight. Players will never go back to the spreadsheets, downtime, and grind featured in WoW Classic, but the added customization and crafting is greatly appreciated. Characters once again feel like they're a product of a player's preferences rather than being walked through a clear progression path in a talent tree, and the satisfaction of missing a single point on a skill in a desired tree remains one of the classic, irrefutable draws of the MMORPG game. That said, there is a lot to remind World of Warcraft, Dragonflight that despite everything Blizzard does to reinvent and modernize its MMORPG, it is ultimately a game that has been around since 2004. The combat systems can never really escape their simplicity and graphical display. It can only be dragged so far. That's not to say the combat isn't fun, it is, or that Dragonflight isn't gorgeous, it's visually stunning. But rather it's all contextual due to Dragonflight and the rest of the game being at the mercy of nearly 2 decades of progress. This puts Dragonflight in an interesting position. It's an engaging and entertaining ride through the usual World of Warcraft levels, and removes much of the sadness and gloom that was beginning to tire Shadowlands. It's also a reminder that ultimately WoW's ceiling is only so high, technically and practically. There's not much Blizzard can do with every expansion without risking over redesigning the game and losing its hardcore player base. For WoW fans, Dragonflight is fantastic. The ending of the game remains to be seen, but even the simple journey of leveling up and exploring the Dragon Islands is well worth the price of admission. For newbies or seasoned veterans, it's still easy to recommend World of Warcraft, Dragonflight. It's just worth noting that despite all the new balls and exciting innovations, it's ultimately the same game, for better or for worse. World of Warcraft, Dragonflight is out now. Our rating, 4.5 out of 5. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and support my channel.